Hello there. Okay, we're going to be working on this Jotul GF 160 gas stove today. We're going to be replacing this pilot assembly. This is the old one. So I'm sorry I didn't think to make the video until I took the old one out. But what I'll do is I'll show you the install of the new one, and I'll take you through the process of the new one working once it's installed, and show you how sort of everything works. It's pretty, if you see it installed, you'll know how to take it out. So this is the old one. You can see it's highly corroded here, and obviously that's what caused the whole system to fail. I'll give you sort of a little bit of a breakdown just quickly of how this thing works. So this sits in the back of your firebox in this position here. This is the new one, in case you're wondering. It's all stainless steel. I think Jotul realized that these were a problem, these original ones. I put this fireplace in 2019, and since then they came out with this stainless steel version. These rust, so just when you have moisture coming in from your, in the summer months when you're not using the wood stove, the moisture change in the air causes this to rust, which causes the pilot jet to plug up with rust and particles, and also causes some corrosion on the sensor here. So I've cleaned this before with, you actually just use a piece of paper or, like a $5 bill or $10 bill, whatever it is, just a little bit of an abrasive to clean that off. But it does get to a point where it doesn't work anymore. So anyway, we're going to be replacing it with this. This is good for natural gas and propane. It's a pilot kit. There's your part number. It's right from Jotul. This was about 280 bucks Canadian, I believe, with shipping included. It comes pre-installed with the natural gas jet, and it also comes with, it is Halloween, that's why that's there. And it comes with the propane jet if you're on propane. So I'm on natural gas, so we're not going to mess with it. So first thing, sorry, I'm going to talk about how this works. So I'll use the old one. Basically, you've got your valve block right there. So you've got a valve, and then you've got a control panel behind it, right in the back there, which I think I have a video of replacing the control panel. I'm not sure, but anyway. So there's the valve block there. So what happens is when you turn the stove on to, like, you want to have a fire, immediately what happens is you'll hear the igniter going, and so that's this one right here. So this igniter with the orange wire is connected to the control board, and it starts sparking. You'll hear it go tick, 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 tick. It's pretty, most people will know what that sounds like if they have this stove. So it'll be on, and then what is happening then is the valve opens and starts to let gas through this pilot jet here. And eventually, obviously, the igniter will ignite the flames, and then the flame, so this one's broken, but the new one, as you'll see, has this little sort of hood on it. So when this ignites, a flame comes out this side, and then a flame goes out that side. The flame coming out this side is what actually ignites the main burner. The flame going out to the right here is always projecting a flame onto this flame sensor here. And what this flame sensor does is it sends a signal in the form of a voltage, a very, very low voltage, which I'll show you how to test that once we get the new one in. It sends a very low voltage signal back to the control board saying, okay, yeah, this actually is producing a flame. It's okay to open the main valve for this flame here to go ahead and light the main burner. And that's how the whole system works. So as long as this sensor is constantly receiving the right voltage and the control panel is picking that up, the fireplace will function normally. As soon as this doesn't sense a flame, you'll have the whole system will shut down, and that's obviously a safety feature. So some of the symptoms we were having, and because it's like a corrosion type thing, it sometimes was okay and then sometimes wasn't, and then it got to a point where you couldn't get the fire to start, and it was actually getting so corroded and bad that even the flame coming out of the pilot was getting restricted, and then obviously not casting the flame onto the sensor, and the whole system doesn't work when it's all corroded. So you could have cleaned it, but it was in pretty bad shape, and really it should be replaced, and replaced with this nice stainless steel one that should last quite a bit longer, if not forever. Well, maybe not forever, but anyway. So What we're gonna do here today is we're gonna replace this. I'm gonna take you through the steps to, you know, take some paneling off and things like that. There's actually, you don't have to take out the whole burner. I mean, you can, it would make your life easier, but it's not really super necessary. Okay, so first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna take this whole assembly down, and it looks a bit daunting, but it's not that bad, and I'll show you in a second once I get it down. So it's only held up there. There's a bolt that goes through that and a bolt that goes through here, and the two bolts, I've already loosened them, they go up through the bottom. So you're gonna open your door. So yeah, just drop it down like that, and that'll give you the access that you need. Then you remove your front glass. There's a tool that comes with the fireplace that does this, but you don't really need it. So you just pull back on those, pull back on that, and then this will slide forward, and you just let it go forward a little bit, and then lift it out of this bottom channel. And it'll be a little bit of tension because it's squeezing this gasket. Put that off to the side. Oh, and I should say, just shut your main gas supply off when you're doing this. We're gonna take this log out, and this, and then this one. You can take these rocks out if you want, but it's not really necessary. And then there's this one, you can see that, yeah. I'll turn my light on here, and I'll move you guys in here. There's this one panel you pretty much have to remove, and it's just sitting there. Just a little plate coming out, but that comes out. Put that off to the side. And then you'll see, that's where the sensor usually lives, and if you have this fireplace, you'll know what I'm talking about. And it gets mounted to, and I'll show you all this, it gets mounted to this little bracket, and then the gas supply tube, the pilot supply tube, and the two wires go down through that hole. And there's a little grommet right here that you have to put back in, and then you put just high temperature sealant around that once everything's set in place and you're all done. Just this stuff here. In the manual it says you gotta get something good for 600 Fahrenheit, and that's what most of these are. So if this is for HVAC type work, fireplaces, all that. So most of them are good for 600 Fahrenheit. Okay, so that's what you're gonna need to seal that up. I'll go through some of the tools I'm using. They're pretty basic tools, but let's get into it. Okay, so we're gonna feed the wires and the gas tube down through that hole I was just talking about. Okay, so I got it fed through there. I just want to show you this one screw I have started. It'll probably be the hardest screw to get in. It's this one right here going in the side. So I just used needle nose pliers to get it started, and then just turned it with my fingers, and it's almost tight, and then I'll just tighten it down with a little ratcheting open end wrench. And then there's one more right here that goes in the top part of it there. That's what basically holds that whole assembly in place onto that bracket that I didn't take out. Okay guys, I can put you right in there. Hopefully you can see that. So you've got the two screws going in the side of the new fixture. And then, you see that one screw, the one sort of rusty one under that stud sticking out from the left? You can take that out with a 1/4 inch ratcheting screwdriver like this one. And that will allow you to get a wrench like this. These ones are super handy, the ones that have the ratcheting like end on them. This is a 5/16, and this is the one you will need to put in those two side ones. If you move that lower screw out of the way, you can get the wrench on a lot better. You'll see when you do it, but it just comes out, and then you should be able to put those two side ones in. So that's mounted now. That's the position it should be in. So as I was saying before, you can see the flame comes out of there and lights this main burner, and then that other flame is casting onto the sensor. Oh yeah, one thing I should mention, that sensor is super sensitive to debris, even the oil on your fingers. So before you fire this up or turn the pilot light on for the first time, you're going to want to clean that off with just a little bit of rubbing alcohol and a little soft cloth. just so it doesn't build up any corrosion or oils or things like that, which will affect the signal. So I'll clean that off, and then all I'm gonna do now, I'm just gonna show you all this stuff after I do it, just because it'd be like long and boring watching me do it. I'm gonna feed this over the end of the tube and the 2 wires, and then I'm gonna seat that grommet right there in that groove in the sheet metal of the hole, and then we'll put a little bit of sealant. Actually, I'll wait to put the sealant until I test it, but yeah, a little bit of sealant on that. Okay, so there's the underside with the 2 wires and the pilot tube coming through, and I've got the grommet seated up in there. So what I did is I just kept rotating the grommet up the group of wires and hose, and then once I got it to the steel part, I just used a flat but not sharp flathead screwdriver and just kept rotating it and pushing the grommet into the groove of the metal, and then just keep rotating around, and then eventually just pop right in. And then that's where you'll apply a little bit of sealant. I think you can apply some from the top too. So it's just to keep any gas from leaking out there, which, I mean, it's probably not super necessary, but it's, I mean, it was in there from the factory, and it does say in the manual to put it back if you're ever servicing this, so we'll do that just to be safe. So now it's a matter of grouping all these wires together and zip tying them back to the harness. And just keep note, the best way I can say this is just keep note of how it came out and just zip tie everything together. I'll show you where they go. Well, it's pretty easy right here. You've got your igniter, it just shows a little picture of an igniter. So the igniter goes there, there'll be the orange wire, and then your sensor goes onto the X3 right here. And you can see obviously it's the sensor, it doesn't have the little lightning bolt, and that's the white wire, and it goes onto that terminal there. And then your gas, so you gotta make sure you don't kink your gas tube. So there's a lot of extra tube. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna gently bend it in a fashion that you can tuck it. You'll see when you take it out of yours how it's up in there, but you just gotta tuck it up into this space right here, and I'll show you when I'm done. And then it gets screwed into that port right there. Okay, so I've got the tube hooked up there, 11 millimeter to tighten this down. Doesn't have to be crazy tight, just, you know, it's hard to say exactly how tight, but just, you know, you gotta keep in mind these are soft metals you're dealing with here, so not super tight, just has to make a little contact seal. And then you can see how I coiled the tube up under this protector plate, the little silver one that's part of the valve. And just no crazy kink type bends in it. And I just made sure it wasn't touching any other metal parts, just in case there's any kind of vibration or anything like that when you have the fan going. And you're going to want to bubble leak test this once you're all done. Just make sure there's no leaks. So this is the first time doing this, I swear. Oh, and your orange one here goes on to the igniter, white wire goes to the sensor, and the spades are different sizes, so you shouldn't really mess those up. So I'm going to turn on the gas, and it's plugged in, and then I'm just going to turn my switch to on here, and we'll see it. Oh, you know what I didn't do? Hold on, I'm going to clean off the sensor there quick with some alcohol. These little pre-soaked alcohol wipes are perfect. So just clean that off. Make sure there's no fingerprints or anything on it that could cause any sort of microscopic type corrosion. Can't really get my hand in there, so we'll just stick that down in there. And wipe it off. There we go. Just let it dry. Okay, and I mean, you should probably not turn the fireplace on when the door's open, but I'm going to do that. So just a little disclaimer there. Just make sure it's closed when you're doing it. So it's going to take a second because the gas has been off, but hopefully you can see the sparker there. I'll block the light. I can hear the gas flowing. There we go. That already looks a lot nicer than before. Nice clean blue flame, and it is blowing onto the sensor, and there goes the main burner. So that's functioning much better than before. Yeah, we just weren't getting ignition before. It just simply was too corroded. So that's it in operation. As you can see in the back there, it's constantly shooting that little flame onto the sensor, and it's sending the signal to the board. So let me show you what happens when the board does not receive the signal from the sensor. So I'm going to unplug the sensor here, and we're going to have to do this to test it anyway, so I can show you guys the volts you should be getting. I'm going to unplug it, and you'll see within a few seconds the fire will go out. There you go. So the fire's out, stopped receiving the signal that there was an active flame, so it shuts everything down to protect you. So to test this, I'm going to hook it up to my multimeter, so just give me a sec here to set up, and then I'll come back to it. Okay guys, we're just going to quickly test the flame sensor here. So you're going to need a multimeter with microamps, so that's the little U with the amps. You don't need a meter this expensive, like a $50 meter. If you can find the right one, we'll usually have microamps. So I've got it in series here, so I got one lead on the wire coming off of the flame sensor, and the other one I'm going to put where that wire would normally go. And I'm just going to turn the fire on here. Normally this would be a first check if you suspect something's wrong with the flame sensor. And right there you can see we are getting a reading, and it's starting the gas. Usually between, and it varies from furnace to furnace, or appliance to appliance, but for this one, and it's bouncing around right now because the flame is irregular and I don't have the glass on, but anything between about, you can see it there, 2 and 4 usually, 2 and 5. I think between 2 and 6 is normal, and it's negative because I've got it wired backwards, but it doesn't matter. You should be able, the flame will light. So as soon as I remove that sense, obviously it's 0 and it's sensing it's 0. In a couple seconds it'll shut the fire off. So if you do the same test and you're not getting any voltage coming through the flame sensor, then either your flame sensor is dirty or the pilot light itself is not casting a clean enough flame or a direct enough flame onto the sensor, and it won't allow the main burner to turn on. So that's one quick check you can do. But then honestly, visually with this fireplace, if it's corroded, the nozzle's corroded, the jet's corroded, or the flame sensor's corroded, you can pretty well bet that that's your problem. And you just going to want to replace that just the way I've shown you here. So hopefully that helps some people out that have this fireplace. If you got any questions, just let me know in the comments. Oh, one thing I should mention, this little guard goes in, so it goes in, there's just one little screw you leave in this part, and you just place it in there and just tighten it down, and it goes in this orientation right here, and it actually protects the flame from drafts coming in from the chimney, just so you get a more steady flame, obviously, so you don't have any issues with that. So that goes in there. Don't forget to check for leaks with a bubble leak detector. It's the best way. And also make sure you put some high temperature silicone. This just lifts up, goes back in, zip tie all your wires out of the way, and should be good to go. Glass back on, logs back in, all that. That's pretty straightforward. So yeah, hopefully this helps some people out. Thanks for watching.